Welcome to Stitching Up Trouble, a podcast where a quilt retreat owner and a creative quilt designer cross paths and stitch up some trouble together. I am Mary, owner of Coosa Mountain Lodge.
And I'm Heidi Pridemore of the Whimsical Workshop. Hope you enjoy. Hey, Mary, how are you today?
I'm doing good, Heidi. How are you today?
Good. Just running around like a crazy girl.
That's all right.
Same
That's
old,
normal, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I think when I stop, I really stop. I could picture myself hanging in a hammock on a beach somewhere, but I have to get to the beach and find the hammocks.
I'll see if I can add that to my list. I can't supply the beach, but I might be able to supply a hammock when you come.
I don't know. It's like that weird thing. When I was a little kid, we had a hammock, and no one in my family liked it, so I hung out in the hammock all the time. So now as an adult, if I think of the absolute perfect place to go relax, it's a hammock. But we don't own a hammock, so.
I think we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
Your love of hammocks.
I know. Well, it is Arizona and it's sunny and you don't really want to lay in the sun. So hammocks are not like in the desert.
True.
Oh my gosh. All right. So what have you been up to today?
I have been same old quilting for some clients, working on some class projects. I have finalized the custom embroidery projects that I hired. Her name just jumped right out of my head. I will get the name for you. But we met her at H&H, and she is an embroidery designer. She has designed custom embroidery kits for Coosa Mountain Lodge. So
I can't wait to see those. I haven't even, this is new to me.
Yeah.
So was it the lady who did the inappropriate embroidery?
No.
Or is it the lady who did the pretty watercolor stuff?
The pretty watercolor stuff, yes.
Yeah. Oh, I liked her stuff. I liked all of their stuff.
Yeah. So
I can't wait to see those.
She did ones for Shannon at the Common Thread. She did a custom Dahlonega one.
Yeah.
And so I had her do 2 for me, and I'm very excited about both of them. So
we'll see. Now, if you listen to our last podcast, it was all about destination and journey quilters. Embroidery is a destination thing, or is a journey thing for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I may have to get one of your kits and do it just because.
So she's doing one of the view of the mountains with the fire pit. That one turned out really, really cool. I'm very excited about that one. And then the other one is basically just turning around and it's the view of the lodge. So that
Which, if anybody wants to know what that looks like, it's the thumbnail of our first podcast where all the girls are hanging their quilts over.
Oh yeah, that's right.
The balcony, which is one of my absolute favorite pictures because it's got everything. It's got my favorite place to go. It's got my favorite people and some beautiful quilts hanging there. So yeah. Well, speaking of embroidery, that is what I have been doing. I've been designing embroidery for, it's a new embroidery pattern that's 3 different Christmas ones. One says Joy, one says Mary, and one says Frosty. And like the Frosty one
is my name.
Mary. Well, Mary with MERR, but we can change it. Mary has Christmas lights, Frosty has snowflakes, and Joy has a wreath. So,
cool.
So we both have embroidery on the brain this week.
We do. Yeah.
So unfortunately, I have to design it before I actually get to stitch it.
Well, that's where your skill set surpasses mine in that one area.
Yeah.
But so the other very cool and exciting thing that is going on or that I have accomplished this week, any of you who have come to the lodge know about the ice maker that I have. So I just ordered the new ice maker for the retreat. So both places will have the same kind of ice maker. Well, not the same kind of maker. It makes the same kind of ice.
Which is the pebble ice, which if you didn't have it at the one, everybody would be hopping on the gator to get down to the other.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So it's actually saving you gas, time, and wear and tear on the gator because you need a new ice maker. I can attest it is the best ice for iced tea and sodas and all that stuff. So yeah, that's a busy week. Yeah, no, same here. I've been designing. I was on a phone call. I designed the embroidery and getting ready to head out to Genome this week and got a bunch of new clients, trying to get them all settled in. And
nice.
Yeah, this has been crazy. I'm ready for Christmas. Christmas is when we slow down. So.
Yeah. I think it's really exciting for the industry that you've gotten so many new clients or clients coming back because that shows me that the industry is still growing and still trying to be innovative, and it's still thriving and viable. So that's fun to see.
Well, and what's interesting is like these are different types of clients. Like for the longest time, it was just pattern work. It was just designing free projects. These are
Mm-hmm.
all clients about marketing. And so I have been telling all of our clients for years, you need to have a relationship with the sewers. You need to create an environment. We need to do social media. We need to do education.
Mm-hmm.
This is the year they've all said yes. This is the year that the fabric companies are like, we need to reach out to our end users and talk to them. And so I think in the long run, all of our listeners are going to benefit
Right.
from this, whether it's me doing it or someone else. The fabric companies are definitely looking to interact with the consumer versus interacting with just the shop owners, which I think is a
Right.
huge shift in
Right.
the industry.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, just means a lot more work, but I'm happy for it.
Me too. The
But
more work you do, the more fun stuff we get to work
play
on
with,
and play
yeah.
with and learn about. So yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. And so that's, I mean, I like doing it because it does force me to think outside the box myself and forces me to look at, because the number one thing is to look at the different collections and say, how can we use this differently? How can we entice people to want to look at the fabric? There's a lot of quilt patterns out there. We're already doing that. But like, how can we take this fabric and do something quick, fun, and easy in a social media format that will get people excited? And
Right.
that is making me think outside the box, which is not always hard. It's hard, but it's also something I thrive at. So
Yeah.
I'm excited by that.
Yeah. Good.
So
Good stuff.
well, today we are going to be talking about, I always make you tell everybody what we're talking about. That's your job,
That
Mary.
it is okay to admit that you are good at something.
Yes.
It is okay to accept compliments and credit and be proud of what you can do, what you've made, and your talents and creativity. So,
Exactly. You need to have confidence in your abilities, no matter what level your abilities are at. So,
correct.
and I know you've just jumped back into teaching, but I can tell you from my own years and years and years of teaching, and we are all guilty of it, including myself. And no one will say that I'm insecure about my abilities, but someone will say, that's beautiful. And we immediately say, oh, it's the fabric, or what was
Right.
so and so's class. Like we're immediately deflect the compliment to a different
Exactly.
reason.
Exactly.
So,
Right.
and this
Oh, I just
came,
followed the pattern, or what was
yeah,
a kit, so I'm not really creative. And
right, right. And this
yeah.
this came up. I was out with somebody last week, and it came up. It came up that hey, how many people do creative things, but then don't feel comfortable saying I'm good at this or I am creative, or they don't want to say it. And I think that you and I brought it up to you, and I was like, maybe we could do a podcast about encouraging people to, it's okay. It's okay to say this. It doesn't mean you're egotistical. It doesn't mean you're bragging. Our society doesn't always accept for women or men to acknowledge that, hey, I'm good at this, or hey, unless you can say I'm an expert. Like for me to say, oh, I'm not really good at quilting would be weird.
Yeah. Yeah,
you
it
know,
would.
but if I say, hey, I'm great at changing the oil in my car, which I am not, by the way, but that would be, people would be like, huh? Why
Yeah.
would you take, so so that's kind of what we wanted to talk about today. And so I had asked you off camera, like, how are you about accepting compliments? And,
I think I am a little bit of a smart aleck, so just a little. So I've had people say, "Oh my gosh, you're amazing." And I'll say, "Thank you. It's about time somebody figured that out."
but do you mean it?
So, but I mean, I think everybody at some point or another struggles with receiving compliments, because the bad things that you think or that people say are a lot easier to believe than the good ones. And I think that's
Mm.
just human nature. But I think it's good to be realistic about your talents and how they relate or compare to other people, or how they compare to where you were a certain amount of time ago.
And that's actually a very good point, because we all compare ourselves to the Joneses. We all compare ourselves to other people. And to embrace happiness, to embrace your growth, it is much better to compare yourself with where you start. So know when you start
Correct.
something, you may be a natural. There are certain things you are natural at, but know when you start, you are not good at it. It is okay not to be good at it. Your first, whatever it is not going in a museum, but you have a story about that. But try not to necessarily compare yourself with the person sitting next to you. Create
Exactly.
a baseline that you can then use to compare yourself to
Right.
as you grow. So
Correct.
I will turn the
Yes.
floor over so you can actually
Tell my
expand upon
story.
that. Expand
Thank
upon
you.
that. Yes.
Yes. So when I was in high school, I worked for my in-laws. They had a ceramic and porcelain doll shop.
Which I did not
And
know.
yeah, yeah. So I worked for them. That's part of the way I paid my way through college. My mother-in-law would have like national teachers come in regularly and teach classes. And one of the teachers that was at the shop said that you should keep your first doll, the first one that you make.
Mm-hmm.
And, most of the people there were like, oh, I'm making this for my granddaughter or for my friend or, as a gift, whatever. And she's like, you should not do that. You should keep your first one. And she went on to explain that, you're in this class and, if you make multiple dolls, you can go back and look at that first one and see exactly how far you have come, how far your talents have come. The dolls that we were making, you had to paint the eyelashes, you had to paint eyebrows, they were, intricate and detailed. And you really can tell when you look back at that first project. Yes, there's been a tremendous amount of growth. There's been a tremendous amount of learning. I understand how to use the brushes, the paints, the whatever. And quilts are the same thing. So if you don't have your actual first quilt, hopefully you still at least have a picture of it. And just every once in a while, go back and look at that original one and remember how this step was a struggle or that was not quite the way you wanted it to be or what you learned on it, and compare the quilts that you're making now to the one that you made the first quilt you made, and you'll see really where your talents have grown and actually how good of a quilter you are. There's always going to be somebody better than you. So if you are always comparing yourself to the people who are better than you, your confidence isn't going to grow because you're not getting the affirmation or the validation that you are improving and you are doing better. You're just always trying to play catch up. So,
And that goes back to like always try to compare to yourself. But what may be surprising for anybody who's had me as a teacher or has seen my work, I no longer have my first quilt. I have my second quilt. I gave it to my mother, who then gave it back to me. But the first quilt was a rail fence quilt. And now here's the opposite. I was so proud, and I still am proud of the quilt, but I was so proud of that quilt. It was amazing. I finished it. I loved it. And then I took a picture of it and I gave it away. And then I came across the picture a few years ago. Those rails totally cockeyed. I cut off like the one rail started at 2 inch, and I swear it trimmed down to 1.5 at one point. The whole thing was a hot mess. It was just a mess of a quilt. But at the time when I made it, I was so proud that I finished a quilt. And that is part of what this is about. You should be proud of it. I should
yeah,
have been proud.
ab-
I completed a quilt, but I'm able
absolutely.
to look past the imperfections and go, I completed a quilt. But now, years later, I can go, ooh, I've actually grown. So instead of like saying, oh, that's a poor quilt, I could say, look at where I started, look at
Right.
where I am.
Correct.
So it's just it is heartbreaking to me, especially with younger women, especially. Now, I don't have a lot of experience with younger men, but I assume it's the same with them. You have a son, so you can chime in. They compare everything to Instagram. I am not as good as Instagram. I'm not as perfect. Everything in this is a perfect world. But people ask me, like, as an adult and as a professional in the industry, how does social media affect me? And I will be totally honest. I will go out there. I will look at Instagram. I will see my peers in the industry and I feel inferior. I don't feel confident. I'm like, why am I not as perfect as them? Why am I not putting out as much? And so I think you and I, wanting this to be a positive podcast, this is our opportunity to tell everybody it's okay to feel that, but then to get past it and be confident and be proud of what you've accomplished, whether it's perfect or not, because everything we do is not perfect. Certainly
No,
not. Certainly
no.
not. I'll get off my soapbox now, but
Yeah.
yes, that's kind of
Well,
the inspiration behind this.
yeah. So like one of the things that frustrates me a little bit when I talk to some people is I'm not very creative. I just did the kit. I don't know how to pick patterns. I don't know how to pick fabric. And I think if you really look at what you've done in your home, you do know how to pick fabrics. You do know how to pick colors because
We get dressed
you
every
have,
day. Your clothes match for the most part.
right, right. Listen, everything matches a Coosa Mountain t-shirt. So,
I was waiting for that.
but you have decorated your house the way
Mm-hmm.
you like it, the
Yeah.
way it pleases your eye.
Yep.
There's very few people that I have met that have their own home that say, wow, this place is really ugly because I can't decorate.
Yeah. Right.
You know what you like, you pick things, and that's really what you should do when you're quilting. You should pick what you like. If you like that color combination, it's a good color combination.
Correct. It may not be the person next to you's color combination, but it's
Right,
yours.
right.
Own
And
it.
so you know how to do more than you give yourself
Yeah.
credit for.
Well, and here on the flip side, not everybody's creative. You don't have to be good at being creative. You may be good at being precise. You may be good at construction. You may be good at quilting. I mean, there's so many elements to it. All I'm saying is when you do receive a compliment, embrace it. You know, we are so quick to say no. We don't earn that compliment. It's not mine. Like you said, it's a kit, it's a pattern. Well, you picked it out and
Right.
you
Exactly.
decided it was pretty. So, we
Correct.
all deserve the kudos that we get in
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. And just because you didn't design the project doesn't
Hmm.
mean
Yeah.
that your input to it has any less value. So,
Yeah, no, from the designer, anybody who picks our designs, you have great taste.
exactly. Exactly. I agree. I agree. So, but when we are among other quilters and we show our confidence, it helps other
Everybody.
quilters. It helps other quilters' attitudes, their thoughts about themselves. If somebody compliments your quilt and you worked really hard on it and it's a technique that you've mastered, say thank you. I worked really hard on this and
Hmm.
it's a great technique. I'd love to teach it to you.
Yeah.
There's
And I'm the
there's
first
a
to
lot
admit
to
it's
be.
awkward. It is awkward. It is hard in
Hmm.
our society to accept a compliment, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And I remember this is when I first started, I had an amazing mentor. She was phenomenal. We could do a whole podcast about her. But I was somewhere and somebody asked for my autograph for the very first time. I was so flustered. I had imposter syndrome. I was like I made a huge deal about it. I was
Right.
so embarrassed by it. And her name was Mary. And Mary, she just quietly pulled me aside and she said, "First of all, you're making it about you." She goes, "That autograph is about them." She goes, it is important to them. It has nothing to do with you. So just be quiet and sign it. It was very humbling, but the same thing comes true about a compliment. If somebody is paying you a compliment, that person is also exposing themselves and
That's
saying, I love this. So if you say, "Oh, it's no big deal," you're almost like saying your opinion is not, I don't know how to say it politely, but it's just sort of like you're discrediting their opinion by not taking the compliment and being gracious about it. And so when people do say things to me, I do try to flip it around and say my response is also going to affect that person. So make sure the response is as gracious as the compliment.
right. Yeah.
And then there's
That's
also the whole fake it until you make it. Just own the compliment and eventually you'll believe in the compliment.
exactly. No, but I think that's a very good point because if somebody is paying you a compliment, they are putting themselves out there. They are saying, this is what I like and this is what I appreciate. And if you say, well, that's dumb to like and appreciate that, it is shutting them down. So, one of my favorite sayings that I got from my friend Rita,
Hmm.
don't block my blessing. So,
Right. That's a
if
great way
somebody
to
is
put it.
paying you a compliment, they are trying to be a blessing or, and
Build
if
you up and help you
correct,
stand up. Yeah.
correct. And if somebody can build you up, that makes them feel good too. So they're giving to you, so don't block the gift
Right.
of the compliment.
Right. And if this helps anybody, if anyone struggles with compliments and you're like, well, how do I be gracious next time? Think about also paying it forward. If somebody pays you a compliment and you find it hard, just say thank you and then say, okay, someone has paid me a compliment. So the next time something makes something I want to do, say something about, I will pay a compliment to someone else. And therefore it might be easier. It makes it easier. The more times you accept a compliment, the easier it is to be gracious about
Right.
it.
Right.
So,
Right.
I still get embarrassed when people come up to me at shows and fuss and make a big deal about
Yeah.
something. And that kind of sounds egotistical, but it does happen. Like you've been at shows where people like kind of like, "Oh my gosh, you do this," and it's like it's very awkward and
Yeah.
I kind of like I don't know if I deserve this, but
Right. Right.
then I also will turn around and appreciate someone else and know and I will pay it forward to them and say, I truly appreciate your body of work. I truly appreciate
Right.
you as a designer. And I share it forward. And then therefore, it's not just about me. There are other people that
Right.
have earned that
Yeah.
accolade, you know?
Yeah.
So it was kind of a weird topic, but I felt like it
Yeah.
was an important one.
Yeah. Well, and just to expand on just a little bit more, like when you're at the show and somebody comes up and says, oh my gosh, I really love this project that you made,
Hmm.
you can use that as a conversation starter. Really, what did you like about this project? Oh, I love the colors. Oh, yes, my favorite color is the green in this. And I found, you can use that to engage with people and kind of create connections that way. And then the person who paid you the compliment walks away from that interaction feeling much more validated and
Connected.
you've lifted their spirits by actually being interested in what they think. So if you're awkward about receiving a compliment on a project,
You make
ask
them
them a
feel awkward.
question.
Well, yeah,
No,
true. Right, but if you don't, then you can make it into an awkward situation.
right, right.
Right.
So, hey, I love that bag you made. What do you love the most about it?
Yeah.
Well, it goes so great with your eyes, you know,
Yes. And I
whatever.
have to tell everybody, Mary is the master at that. She is. And like I'm gonna praise Mary because Mary's communication skills are something to be in awe of. Because I am awkward in a lot of social situations, mainly because I live in a studio and I don't work in an office. But when I am like watching you interact, I mean, you are so good at like drawing people in and doing just what you said and almost like spinning it to include everybody where I'm like so nervous I will like vomit personal information because I don't want anyone to feel awkward, so I just keep talking to fill the void. So if you guys ever meet both of us, talk to Mary.
Well, thank you. But that is honestly something that I have worked on.
And I have.
And I used to, like, I have four kids, and when they were younger, we would go to, their first baseball practice or whatever, and the coach would have everybody introduce themselves. We used to work on practicing introductions,
Wow.
like when they were younger, and because I was awkward with it. So that is a skill that I put conscious effort into learning how to do. So
Well,
when you're
apparently
going
I
into a
need some training.
So what I would tell them, so to kind of, go off on
Yeah.
our tangent, I would tell them when you're going to go into a situation and you think that you're going to have to introduce yourself, figure out what you're going to say ahead of time.
Hmm.
You know, hi, my name is Mary Sawatska. I own Coosa Mountain Lodge and I love to travel and I love to read. Give a couple of examples of things that you are interested in or you are good at. And then that is something that later on somebody can say, I'm a reader too. What kind of books do you like to read? And it opens up a conversation. So that is something that I worked on, especially when I had younger kids, so that they would be more comfortable doing that. So
Well, and see,
thank you
maybe
for that
that
talent, that compliment, because that is something that I worked on.
you did work
So
on it. And
I
maybe
did.
that's part of it is one, I'm in an office. Two, we don't have kids. Like I saw my sister having to be constantly thrown into that school environment where you have to deal with the parents, you have to deal with the teachers. I only have to deal with, I mean, other people I worked with, and until recently, I even only had to deal with them at trade shows. You know, now there's this whole dang thing called Zoom meetings, and I seem to be sucked into those like 3, 4 times a week all of a sudden. And I'm like, oh my God, now I got to be professional and wear a dress shirt, and what the heck is this stuff? No.
That's also something you can have a couple of things that you're going to talk about.
Mm.
Okay, what kind of small talk should I make today? Am I talking
You're
sports
supposed to do
or,
that in those Zoom meetings. I'm like, okay, guys, let's stay on target. 1, 2, 3, 4. I gotta go.
well, you got to read the room. You got to read the room.
I totally don't read the room. I'm like, okay, I've got 30 minutes. 1, 2, 3, 4. You guys chit chat when I'm gone. Time is money. No,
Too funny.
yeah, I
Yeah,
try.
we've gotten way off topic, but that's okay.
We
That's
have,
part of
but
our
in a
charm,
way,
right?
it is still the topic. The topic is accept compliments, be confident. It is hard. You know, we are not psychologists. I might need a psychologist. But from a teacher perspective and from a perspective of somebody who loves sharing the creative process and loves watching people blossom and learn and be
Yes.
creative, I do see it over and over and over, especially in the first class. Like, I stink at this. I'm no good at this. Well, no, you're no good at this. You've never done it before. You
Right.
know, like, cut yourself some slack. I teach a lot
Exactly.
of hand classes. I was just teaching Sashiko, and the lady's like, my stitches are all over the place. I'm like, you started 10 minutes ago. You know, if your stitches are all over the place in 10 months, well, let's have a conversation. But 10 minutes,
Yeah,
you know. So,
exactly.
and I do think a lot of it is a society thing. I do think it is a very much like
Hmm.
we're we're just not set up to take compliments or have confidence in our abilities. If anybody listening to this, if it really does help, if any of this resonates, if you don't want us to talk about psychology stuff and want us to go back to our other stuff, just let us know. But,
You can let us know, but we're probably going to talk about whatever we want to talk about anyway.
I know. This is very close to my heart because it just,
It is. And, one of the most rewarding things about owning the quilt retreat is seeing firsthand how getting together with other quilters, other crafters, and spending time together, how positively it affects people's mental health to just be together.
yeah,
And part of it is showing off what you've done and having people compliment you and praise you for it and get excited for you about it. And I see that constantly. And it is very rewarding for me to have been able to create that space to facilitate those interactions. So
yeah. And
they
you
are
do see
important.
it at a smaller degree in classes, but obviously teaching at your retreat, I absolutely love. I've taught it on cruises and other retreats as well. And it's the multi-day thing. You really start becoming each other's cheerleader and helping build each other up. Now, if only we could bottle that and put it into high schools for younger people,
Right. Yeah.
holy macaroni, our society would be so much better. But we have to wait till we're old and crafty. So,
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
no. But
So I think it's probably a good spot to leave it there. We've
yeah,
we've given a lot of food for
our
thought.
yeah,
So
our opinion.
our opinions.
But then again, it is our podcast. We are allowed to give our opinion.
Yes, we are. So you have exciting stuff coming up. You are
I
leaving to go to
do.
Genome
I
tomorrow.
am. Tomorrow morning. Well, I know I got
And
an alert while we were doing this that huge thunderstorms hitting the city. So, you may want to change your flight info. I'm like, well, what the hell does that mean? I've never,
great,
yeah.
great.
But no, I'm
So
supposed to fly in tomorrow. I'm going to spend
and
a whole week.
going to Genome, what does that mean?
So they've brought me on board. It is a paid freelance job as an educator. So that means I'm going to spend 4 days there learning everything and anything about all of their machines. It's also for them to kind of see where is my expertise, what is my skill set, where would they send me out into the world to represent Genome. Like some people are long arm quilters, some people are really good at machine embroidery, some people are just really good at weird techniques and piecing techniques. So it's kind of an evaluation as well. So it'll
Okay.
be 4 very long days of learning everything and anything about Janome. And then at the end of that, they will know where to send me and send me out to
Nice.
represent Janome and help teach people about sewing and quilting and crafting. And it's a new venture for me. It's just one part of our puzzle. All the other stuff is still going on. None of that went away. But yeah, it'll be fun. I'm sure I'll have some stories when I get back and some goodies and some
That's
ideas of
exciting.
what's going on.
Hopefully, you know, we need educators at Coosa Mountain Lodge, and there's a really good Janome dealer very close to the lodge. Hi, Shannon. At the Common Thread in Dahlonega, Georgia.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
excited. It's just like anything, just like we were just talking. It's like it's a
yeah,
new venture. I'm nervous.
yeah,
I'm not as confident because it's something different, but going in like you and I always do, head first, and we'll hopefully land on our feet on the other
yeah,
side, and I'll let you know how it goes.
yeah. Well, that sounds very exciting. I hope you have a great time.
I
Safe
will.
travels.
Thank you. And we will see you guys in the next one. Make sure you like, subscribe, leave comments, and
Yes,
let us know what other topics you want us to get into a deep dive on.
yes,
All right.
yeah. Because if you don't give us other topics, we're just going to keep analyzing our mental state.
Yeah, this could go really deep.
It really could.
All right. You guys all have a good week, and we'll see you in the next one.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.